He's out. There's my.
Hey,
Question about the financial for, I mean, we're on, I would defer to you.
what do you mean about financial?
Lori is asking about that, where we are compared to.
Oh, I have no idea. That was Sherry would have had that at home. I didn't even see that.
Oh,
Well, we're, as of October 31st, 96,000.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
well, as of November 30th, we're $20,000, right? Is that what that?
And it could be because the billings are, obviously, the payments are delayed. so
Yeah.
maybe-
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey there. There's a fire department report there. I think one of those
Oh.
appears.
Thank you. How are you, bud?
Oh, does he?
I know it's mayor's, but I saw him this
Yeah, okay.
So people stay off the ice. They already had people down the other end, guys asking down in the cove by Bay Bridge if it was okay to go out on it this weekend. Mines?
They are out there, I heard.
Yeah, it's 4 inches over at the restaurant, right now on the east side.
On the backside of the island, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
doubt that.
4
I
inches.
wouldn't doubt that.
Because my son went out there, he went out about 20 feet and sticked it and then drilled it.
I mean, one of them, let them fall through over there. By the time we get to them, somebody else will be there.
That's what I told him, I said, "Don't go out there, fall in." He's like, "Why?" I said, "That water's cold, I'm not coming in.
You had no.
I gotta call and get help." He goes, "I'll be dead by the time they get here." I go, "Told you I ain't coming."
Yeah.
I said, "The only thing I got, the only rope I got is an extension cord. I'll lower in the hole, but that, you're on your own. I'm not going in."
See ya.
I'm not stupid. But he's got his little, crunch stick or whatever that it goes out like 4 feet and then down, so he does that. He checks it all,
Ah,
then he takes 2 steps.
if I even have to worry about checking the ice,
Well,
I want
first time,
nothing to do
first
with
time
it.
out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I know.
So he did, but it's only 8 feet of water right there when it's all the way up. So it's really only probably 5.5 right now. Yeah, it's like, yeah, he raises his arm, I can still find him.
That's not on yet, right?
We're recording.
Okay, I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say about this.
Yeah. You
Right
may
here.
not find them. You may not find them
Forever.
Oh, for the firehouse.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Need to find a way to reach it. Yes.
That one tech.
Yeah.
Everybody forgive my jacket. It's frozen stiff.
I know, I freeze myself.
And
A
it's,
lot of layers.
and it's warm in here. I felt it was warm. But
I think it is kind of warm. when you-
Tracy, okay, Tracy. Okay, maybe it's because I got a jacket on then.
All right.
Like, it's warming up.
My bus got heated seat in it. That's been better for my back than anything is.
Yeah.
I texted this morning about stuff.
I moved down one, I thought maybe he wasn't coming. It's kind of crappy.
He'll be here soon.
He didn't say he wasn't.
Yeah.
Would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome everybody. First order of business is to approve the meeting minutes from our December 21st.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Water levels are actually 244.75 now, so they're up almost 3 inches from our last meeting. Definitely got a bunch of rain and snow, which is all ending up in the lake. The most recent Army Corps of Engineers forecast, which goes out 6 months, says that we're gonna remain just below the long-term average into June. So we'll have to see what happens. Our CDBG grant for study of the water system, all the grant paperwork is done and we now have our release of funds. The RFQ to hire the consultant is out. It's advertised in the New York State Reporter, and then there's a whole list of women and minority owned firms that Karen automatically sends it to. I forget when those responses are due, but they're due in time for February meeting. So in February, we'll review a bunch of proposals. Sharon laid out some criteria, so she'll pre-score them. And then we can review them and hopefully award a contract for that consultant. So that'll be good when we get that underway.
That was the consultant for the water.
Yes, for the water system study.
So once the water system's done, that's when you're planning to do the meters, or are you planning to do those?
I hope
I
to
think
do
we
them, I
budgeted.
hope to do them this budget year, but I want to talk to whoever we hire to make sure we're making the right decision in terms of vendor.
When, that was budgeted, so it'd just be a budget carry forward. Can that be set off to the side then, if it goes into the next
I
year?
think we can, I don't know.
Is that how it works? So it's encumbered, basically. Okay, thank you.
Community peer, the committee's meeting again next week with the consultant. We're continuing to look for alternative sites. So if anybody has any ideas, certainly let me or any one of the committee members know. The East Breakwall project, the Corps has finished their design. They're under environmental review with the DEC and everybody else that has to bless it. They plan to bid the project this spring and start construction in the summer. The county beach is the planned site to unload the rock onto the barges to get them out there. That makes a difference because the Crescent Beach Ready project, which is a Huron and Wayne County project, the contractor has been awarded to WD Malone out of someplace to the east of us. They're gonna load that material, that rock, at Sills Marina this summer. And that is because that construction is expected to start. There's a group of residents that are trying to put together a St. Patrick's Day parade. So we'll, I think, start to hear more about that soon. And then our South Municipal parking lot is a mess. We've all complained about it. Tracy and I went through the budget a little bit this week, and later we'll move some money into reserves that I think we can use to pay for that. So I wrote a brief RFQ to hire an engineer to design the drainage and revise the parking lot. So those proposals are due February 9th. So I'm hopeful that in the February board meeting, we can select an engineer to design that for us. And then if it all works out, hopefully we can do something in the fall. So for next year, it's met. Brad can pave it, but it's just gonna fall right back apart because water just sits.
Which is the south parking
That's
lot?
point parking.
Hot's Point.
In terms of wastewater, they did all their new year paperwork. Because Jeff is planning to retire in June, he has started a notebook on things that the next people running the wastewater plant need to have in their mind and worry about, and ideas for future projects. So he's continuing to update that. They went to the Williamson wastewater treatment plant to calibrate the thermometers, which is an annual event. We made a no parking sign for the main lift station to try to raise people's flack. Fleet was out. We have 2 pump stations that there's 2 pumps in, but only one has been working for a while. Correctly. So he's been beating on them to come out. They didn't come out. They now have a handle on the issue and they're waiting for parts to get those 2 fixed.
Which pump station is in disrepair then?
Margaretta Road is one of them. And I think Lakeshore 3 might be the other one.
Where would that be?
Lake Road 3, I should have said. Down at the bottom of White Birch. They put a driveway in front of the wastewater barn so they could more easily back the sewer cleaner in. And then we had a problem in the main lift station last week, and Calcino came out and replaced the transducer. Those pumps are supposed to run for 24 hours and then switch to the next one. There's 4 pumps in that station. And they were just randomly switching around, setting off alarms. They came out and took care of that. And he suggests we all think before you flush the New Year's resolution. Bill?
Solus Point Fire Department report. They had several calls for the trees down and wires and that kind of stuff here in this last snowstorm. And they had a fire alarm on Gregg Street. That was 5 calls, 3 on the 9th, 1 on the 10th, and 1 on the 11th. Marky Jones has been keeping in touch with the Coast Guard station chief down in Oswego, and as it looks right now, this station here will be unmanned this year. Just not enough people to put a whole crew up here. So if they come for a call, they will be responding from either Oswego or Rochester. And he just wanted everybody to know that, because that means that, our water rescue and anybody else's that are in the area are probably going to be, or could be, busy this summer doing stuff that they might do. The fire department will be hosting a basic boat operations class instructed by the New York State OFPC on July 20th and 21st. That would be something, if anybody's interested, to see Mark and get signed up for it. I'm assuming that the public would be allowed into that, but I'm not sure, being it's from the OFPC.
What is the OFPC?
Office of Fire Prevention and Control.
So it isn't open to villagers.
Well, I'm not sure. It could be. I'm not sure. They don't, normally they try to keep it to like our department, probably maybe Wallington, Elton, any of the departments that are right on the water would probably make sense that they do. Vehicle and traffic will be talked about here in a little bit. So other than that, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Silver Waters, and I'm going to defer to Bill in case I'm not quite sure on a couple of things. Since I've only been to 1 meeting. For December, the responses were 13, 6 of which were billable. Total responses for 2023 were 416, which is about 150 over 2022. So it's been a good year for that. We're down right at the moment because it's not as much going on in Sodas Point. We added a second person in the summer for 3 months, 4 months, something like that, to complete a crew. You need 2 people to go out. And that seemed to work pretty good. The county has got its ambulance, it's becoming countywide. Silver Waters was skipped doing some of these mutual aid calls periodically because there was not a full crew, and it's sometimes more difficult to get that full crew together. Is that me
Yeah.
saying
That's
overstepping
that's the way
anything?
the mutual aid is, yeah.
Okay. Advanced life support responses were 238 for 2023, and I'd said there were 416 total responses. So ALS had, that gets brought in and billed to us or billed
Yep.
somewhere. But our medic Keith Agner is doing an AEMT course, which is considered advanced life support, and he should be ready and certified by this spring, which that will cut down on our additional advanced life support costs. Total for the year, total hours of responses were 1,683. Training hours, which are paid for by Silver Waters, pays for the training for members with fundraising and donations, 381 hours. And that's all I have.
I
hope
wrote a
that-
question about 4 o'clock this morning when I woke up thinking about this. And first of all, I think we're very blessed to have this ambulance and the crew of people that are here. And so I don't want this to sound awful, but we always hear about all the good things we do in the training and everything. Are we in the red? Are we in the green? Are we in the yellow? Does it pay for itself?
That's,
Does it even break
As of
even?
October 31st, which is the budget report I have to have on my desk,
Okay,
we're $9,200 in the black.
fantastic.
And I think in November.
I think in
report, which-
November, we were 20, but there's always a delay in everything
Yeah,
as far as.
But
the billing.
it's still positive. If it was
Yeah,
a
right.
dollar positive, that would make you feel good. If it's just holding its own, that's
Yeah.
good. But if it's not, then we aren't charging enough, and sounds like we're doing a great job.
well, yeah, and now
On
it's
everything.
like Kathy was saying, you've got the county that's getting involved, which they basically have taken over the township of Sodas. We did come up with an agreement with them, for mutual aid. And David signed the county agreement, I signed it, and Jimmy's got the signed copy, Dave done, he's just gotta get it back to us. To pick up some of
Yeah,
they extended some area up Lake Road and then over onto Charles Point, not Charles Point, on Thornton Point, to try and give us a little bit more coverage in that.
Yeah.
So this
That's
time of
great.
year, we know how it is, but we covered a lot of calls because Stack was out,
yeah,
so.
we did an
Just have to wait
amazing
and see what
job.
happens.
No, Bill,
Yes,
back on.
we are very lucky to have Silver Water.
Yes.
And we got a new ambulance this year. I didn't say
Yeah.
When
that.
we did the fee schedule, remember we talked
Yeah.
about that and we're gonna graduate, is
Yeah.
there an expected increase this year?
I would imagine so, but we get together here after the 1st of February, so we can get everything ready for the upcoming budget, so that's when we'll know more about that, but I would imagine so.
Yeah. Bud?
Highways playing catch up because of this crazy weather pattern. Everybody else knows it snows and then wind and then rain, and then 45 and they've plowed a total of 13 times this year, compared to 27 at this point. All the yearly salt order is all in at this point, so they're not gonna be ordering anymore. The salt barn roof replacement is done. That's all completed. The debris from the past storm has been cleaned up. And they're working on the leaf box as it needs some repair, and in the coming weeks, they'll continue to fix stuff, getting ready for the summer months.
Laura?
The LWRP has, partnered with Vegas to combine all the data that's been collected. And the LWRP will be meeting about those reports, the end of the month, I believe I saw a post for. And so I'm looking forward to that. Parks, we've been working diligently on the Willow Park. We met with, the fire company, and we're doing some community outreach on that. If anybody needs a presentation for the organization, don't hesitate to give a holler. We also met with Motion Junction, on Tuesday night, which is a playground in Canandaigua that we were pattering some of our stuff after, and learned about their pitfalls and all the things that they had. So that was great. And we eagerly look forward to our next meeting. The CEC did not meet last month because of Martin Luther King. So they will be meeting next Monday night. And that's it.
Evan?
For December, we had 3 new building permits issued and 2 reviews. Total fees generated is $732. Now that we're slowing down, the planning board is starting to work back towards code revisions. So you'll see some meetings coming up for code revisions.
But I forgot to ask you 2 things. Traffic signs, I know that we had talked about having, and I think that we were able to, Brad was able to order those, the slow down signs, and I wondered how those were coming. And if you were able to make any headway on garbage pickup and doggy bags or any of that kind of stuff.
No, the doggy bag thing, obviously, you're gonna wait till winter and we're gonna put out the new ones, in the spring, I believe.
And so then those will be year round?
I believe so. I believe
Okay.
So,
So
and
it's
then,
not this year, but it's
the
coming.
traffic signs, I don't know. I'll find out from Brad.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, public comments. Anybody in the room?
Reno, 852 Greg Street. So we want Sodas Point to be a year-round place for people to visit. But we have no dog bags and we have no garbage out. And I'm sick and tired of people throwing dog crap at my lawn because that's where a garbage pail used to be. It's been a month now. What's happened with those garbage pails?
I don't know where they went to. They
disappeared?
they removed them.
You said you were gonna have a sit down and talk with them and go over all this. What
Right,
happened?
and when I went to the barn, Brad was not there that day. And I haven't had the opportunity to meet up with him
It's been a
again.
month.
I have not
Are
had.
we
the-
waiting till spring for this to happen?
No, I'm not waiting for spring dog.
Because it's both. It's both that we took the dog bags out. Because people here all have dogs. They walk their dogs, they bag it up, and guess what? There's a pile underneath where the dog bags used to be, because there's no garbage pail there. Somebody told me, oh, they were gonna order garbage pails because the other ones were blowing away. They're metal garbage pails, they don't blow away. So I don't know who's lying to who, but you're not doing your job.
Well, that's what the employees are telling me. is that
So
they're-
tell the employees to do their job. Isn't that what you do?
No, it's not what I
Okay,
do.
then figure it out, because I'm not picking up the dog crap in front of my house anymore.
Okay.
They're bagging it up and they're throwing it there. There's garbage in front of my house. This has been happening now for over 8 weeks, since they took the garbage pails out. Not happy with it. And there's a pile underneath where the dog bags used to be. So people are bagging it up and going like that.
And at the White House.
Oh, and it's a lighthouse. So I'm not the only one, right?
Oh, no. I think
So, I mean, you wanna be a year-round place, you need to provide garbage for people that are coming down here, or they're just gonna throw it on our properties. It's not fair, it's not right, so fix it. That's it.
Fair enough.
Thanks, Matt.
Bruce?
Bruce Evener. 558 Salisbury Court. I'm sorry.
Guess not.
So that's in Hanover. Would you believe me? 405 Bay Street. Where that
Last
There
one
in
passed.
over 20 years. Okay, I also happen to be the chair of the planning board. I have asked the mayor to appoint Mark Costage as an ad hoc member. I enthusiastically recommend Mark. He's lived in the Point for 21 years. He's had a cottage over on Crescent Beach before that. He's got a keen interest in what goes on in the village and has the time now. He's retired, he sold his business. Mark has a lot of knowledge. We lost our most informed member, as far as voting goes, when we lost Darrell Walker. Mark has been voting for a very long time. He is certified by the Coast Guard to captain up to 50-ton vessels. He knows what he's doing, knows what he's talking about. I worked with him on a couple projects, consulted with him on a couple issues that have come up. He's always been very practical, sensible, with suggestions that make sense of work. Mark, as I said, has retired. He sold his interest in cottage engineering, and to distance himself from any hint of conflict of interest, he has agreed to recuse himself anytime an issue comes up that involves cottage engineering.
I really admired that, and I thank you for that. I also like the fact that it's been a year now since you've been retired and that sort of thing.
The position was advertised on the village website and in the paper. If you didn't get a chance to read the advertisement, I have a copy of it here. It was posted at the end of October. People were asked to submit letters of interest by the November 30th. We would meet, interview those people, and then select a person. And the process was quite simple because we only had one person. I reached out to several people. I had several people say, well, I'd be interested in that. I gave them the information. One gentleman I gave the information to 3 times. Never got a letter back. It just didn't follow through. So, and that's not to detract from Mark. You know, he's an excellent choice. He's also the only choice.
I move that we approve with enthusiasm an ad hoc planning board member, Mark Costage. How's that?
Can we just do that in new business since it's on the agenda?
Well, I already put the motion out there, so. If it fails for a second, I
All right, is there a
just
second?
let.
Oh, I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Done with public comments?
No.
Sean Cannon, 853 Greg Street. I don't know Mr. Cassidy personally, but I think he's probably more than qualified to run every department in this town, probably the county. So I would never discredit his work career or so on, but I think that it's a major conflict of interest. You guys, January 19th last year, voted against having him on it because it's a conflict of interest. So what changed between now and today?
He hasn't been working for a year. He's gonna recuse himself from and he put it, it's all in writing in his application. And he's got a lot of good knowledge that'll help us.
100% he does, but you still have the next 15 years future of this town is based on a plan and financial, right?
Mhm.
So anything that's to come of this village in time to come, he's already been paid for. And this is nothing personal against him, but like, he's already been paid for it. You were there.
Yeah.
Remember the day he called the cops on me, tried to have me arrested for no reason?
Yep,
Okay, you
I
want that represented?
just voted for it.
I think it's a pretty poor decision considering the fact that you were there part of it. Wouldn't even take a professional opinion. Didn't matter what it was or whose it was. Remember, we wanted to talk about just without getting into detail, doesn't matter. But wouldn't even accept it. Walked away and said, no. That's what you want?
Yep.
That's cool.
I
Great choice.
think that Mark has paid his dues. I think the distance is there. I'm sorry if I realize, I think it's good when we have people, they have knowledge of what's there. You can't vote on it either way.
So what are you gonna vote on? What's he gonna vote on then? If he can't vote, half
He's gonna-
the surroundings of infrastructure are related to that. So like, his opinion is more valuable than anybody's. Like, nobody would disagree that, but it's a conflict of interest. You guys voted before and said, no, it's a conflict of interest. The conflict of interest is the check. Whoever deposited the check when he owned the company, that's the conflict of interest. It's private business.
Right.
Right? So what changes it today?
Your opinion is well taken.
What changes it today?
I told
You
you,
did?
I said, yeah, I just said. I think he's retired. He's got time to do it. He's been away from it a year. He's said he'll recuse himself from all of the things that are connected, and I believe him. And I believe that the chair will hold that.
And do you believe as a voter that what you saw, that's that'd be like voting for me, right, Maxine? It'd be like me voting and someone voting for me. I'm just using a reference, right? Like,
Yeah, well, you didn't stop to the plate.
no, it's not about that. I did,
Okay.
you're right, but I realize it's not.
Sean, you made your point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sean, I agree with you for what it's worth. That's why I brought forth the motion last time. I think there's too many projects and too much involved. Obviously, I was out voting tonight and I hear you loud and clear.
All right, that's
Matt?
Go ahead, Matt. Go.
So I agree with Sean. I mean, you have a conflict of interest of somebody that released a check when there's flooding in front of Jack's still, there's flooding in front of my house, there's flooding still in front of Sean's. And you all know that that concrete is not poured equally all around this village, okay? So it's not a question of your knowledge, Mark, because Mark is a very, very knowledgeable man, and I'm way more knowledgeable than I am anything. But the fact is that it's.
He didn't build the project, so don't even.
I understand. No, I understand, but
He did what he was supposed to do.
But the fact is the check was released and we released all that money and now there is no recourse to that. Okay? And again, it's an integrity question. And I question people's integrity. And honestly, Lori, I question your integrity. Because you're going back on exactly what you said, and you were there, and I was there with Sean when that was said, and you sat here and now all of a sudden it's no. So for me, I question the board's integrity.
I think that
I question your integrity.
that's fine. I'm not going to disagree with you. I did do those.
So you're agreeing but disagreeing. So you agree with me that this is a question of integrity, it's a conflict of interest. We're not gonna get,
I
now what are we
think
doing? Are we suing the construction? Are we gonna go through and measure the concrete and the
That's
thickness?
all in the past. We
It's
can't
not, but
do
it's
anything.
our sidewalks and is cracking. Our roads are flooding, okay? Due to the company that did it, right? But you released the check. So where's the recourse?
We didn't just release the check.
Where's the check?
We
Did
released,
they get paid in full?
they got paid after the corrections were made.
They're not made correctly, because it still floods.
Okay.
There's still flooding. And if you test the concrete, I guarantee you, in areas, it's not to the thickness that you paid for. So you didn't get what you paid for.
That I
You
would,
paid a
that I would
contractor
agree.
for that money, and now you release the check. But once you release the check, trying to get it from them, forget it. You ain't getting your money. So now what are we doing? Now you're gonna take our
Okay.
taxpayer money to pay for it.
You've made your point.
Okay,
We voted. It's over.
that's what it is, but it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong.
Understood.
Stop spending our money.
Maxine?
I have some things I'd like to pass out, and I think, I'm pretty sure I have enough for every person in the room, and that's what I'm gonna talk about. I know you're not gonna have time to read this, but I'm gonna address the numbers. So I'm Maxine Appleby, 7487 South Ontario, the one with the big. I'm here tonight to talk about a letter that was written by one of the trustees to Ernest Francisco to the Army Corps of Engineers regarding the 650 back dam. The letter starts with, I serve as village board trustee in Sodas Point and as commissioner of the LWRP and planning board. This to me looks like this letter comes from this board. It goes on to say the patio structure was built without the applicant filing a joint application. Well, that is false because following consultations with Matt Griffin of the DEC and the CEO, it was determined that a joint application was unnecessary, contrary to the complaint. Number two, this refers to the designs were not, the design was not a stamped plan by an engineer. However, the planning and zoning board do not require engineer plan. That is like one of the biggest complaints from both boards is we don't have stamped plans. In fact, I believe the marina was built with an architectural plan. So was, what's his name's, Bruce Carey. That was built with an architectural plan, not with a stamped engineered plan. And Lori, you talk about patio exceeding the occupancy limits. What are the New York State occupancy limits for a restaurant of that size?
I had them when I wrote this. I did not put them in. You're right on that.
It's NYS, not BYS. Regarding the littoral lines, as secretary of the zoning board, I notified all relevant parties about the littoral boundaries. And not one person came forward at the public meeting. There was also discrepancies in Lori's understanding in item 4. Firstly, we are currently working off the 2012 revised LWRP, not the version mentioned. Secondly, there were several resolutions at the July 21st board meeting, and at no point did Sharon Willis state that a reaffirmation of the downtown vision plan was only for a grant. That was one of the grants, one of the resolutions that talked about the Lotus, but that wasn't the only one. The Main Street grant was based on the downtown vision plan, and which I found most interesting for someone that represents the LWRP. The comment about the 41 projects, one of the 41 projects and the top project in this community that was voted on was the boardwalk. Lori, didn't you know that? Lastly, this letter really raises some concerns for me. I sent a letter to Matt asking for this letter to be recalled. Okay, I just really feel that there's some inaccuracies here, and I don't think you represent the board, okay, when you wrote this letter, and it does appear that you do, okay? I'd like to recommend something. How about NICOM come and speak with you all, and you talk about some of these things? Because at the last meeting, there was issues raised about Bud, okay, in talking to the Berettas and whether or not that was a conflict. I think this is a conflict. There's just a number of issues that come up that are on the borderline of ethical, what do I want to say? And I think you guys need a little training, okay, when it comes to some of these issues, because when you write this letter, you represent me, okay? Because you say that as village trustee, I feel the downtown vision plan is nearly obsolete and outdated. And when you state that the board agrees that the downtown vision plan is obsolete, that's wrong, Lori. This letter was submitted after the comment period, but I still feel that this is a conflict of interest, and I believe your letter should be retracted. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room? Anybody on Zoom? Kathy Beretta, you can unmute yourself.
Okay. I'm assuming you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, my name's Kathy Beretta. I live at 8510 Wickham Boulevard. I'd like to discuss some of the concerns from the Sodas Point Village special meeting that was held on January 11th, 2024 at 6:30. One of my biggest concerns, it seems like some of the board members and the eminent domain attorneys seem to believe that the village has offered several workarounds for us, new opportunities for us, and they have bent over backwards for us. That's not true. And I'll give you some examples. As you know, the first attempt, Dave, were the signs. No one paid attention to them. When I and the neighbors had a problem, you just told us to call 911, which we did. I met a lot of wonderful deputies, let me tell you. With the approval of the planning board, we installed a fence. We never received a stop work order from the CEO. As a matter of fact, I had to foil the email Bruce Ebner wrote to the planning board. And he didn't send it to me. If anybody is going to go on that bandwagon, Bruce did nothing wrong. He sent it to the planning board and not me. So the suggestions from the attorneys for a compromise that everybody said that the village bent over backwards for us. One suggestion was to keep the gate open dusk till dawn. And that was not going to work because the burden of the gatekeeper was going to be on the Berettas. Another suggestion is to have an electric gate that will open at dawn and close at dusk. They would have to have 2 electrical lines run, and the village would have to purchase 2 gates. And the village would have to be the gatekeepers. And maintaining it in the rain, in the snow, and the ice. We said no to that because of the expense. We didn't want to put that burden on the village. And I know some of you are probably rolling your eyes right now, but that is the main reason. Not to mention the upkeep. It was simply not realistic. The third and final solution was to have 2 fences on either side of the path running east and west of the 3 priority lines. And we, the homeowners, would have to put a gate up just to get from one side of our property to the other side of the property. We weren't even going to discuss that. Trustee Kalush, you mentioned 2 things, and I'm going to quote you. The first one I'm going to quote is, you had said, I didn't really want to do eminent domain, but they could have spoke up and said something, and that was a gambling piece for them. Okay, well, they gambled, and this is how it turned out. You stated that the eminent domain was something we gambled with. We had no idea the village was doing this. In fact, we called our attorney and asked if she had any idea. So Trustee Kalush, how could I gamble with no knowledge of what the village is planning until after it happens? And then in the meeting, 1 hour, 21 minutes and 35 seconds into it, you state, and I quote, you know what the other side of this is? We need to talk to the Berettas and try to find a better way to do this. If this is all done in talking about it and taking a fence down on their own, we would have had something that could have been done and saved them a crap load of money. To clarify things for you, Bill, or trustee Kalush, I'm sorry. We were told by the court that the fence was not installed in the place. Wait a minute. We were told that the fence was installed in the place that the village attorney drew up the map. Then, if it wasn't, we would take it down. The court isn't scheduled until spring. So we're not going to take it down until the court tells us to take it down. In 1 hour, 7 minutes and 50 seconds into the meeting, the attorney reads, access to the historical east area has been blocked by a fence, denying the general public the right of way. And I just want to say, for the record, the Berettas received permission to install that fence. It makes it sound like we just went and put it up. We didn't. We installed that fence. The permission was given to us by the planning board on October 17th, 2022. And because the planning board rescinded the approval, we filed that Article 78 because we did nothing wrong. We have not postponed any hearings. It has been the village attorney that asked for the extension. And then it was the judge that asked for the postponement. And I'm not even going to go after the unsafe $1 million sidewalk discussion. If people have a problem with those unsafe sidewalks, then Dave, that's your problem, not mine. So then the mayor, 1 hour and 60 minutes and 5 seconds, trustee Burbidge asked you, and I'm going to quote her. Lori said, what are the remaining costs of the $15,000 that we had to spend for the attorney and we had to spend on one survey? I know we had 2 surveys. Now I know there are additional costs from the attorney. How much more we got to spend in order for it to be done? Mayor, you said, I have spent the bulk of it, but I need to refer to. And then you were interrupted by Bud, and Bud said, but Dave, you don't have an answer. The mayor said, nope, I can't answer how much is left. Well, you know what, Mr. Mayor, I have an answer for you. My husband foiled this information, and out of the $15,000 that the village allocated to you to spend, you have exceeded that number. As of January 8th, 2024, the amount for the abstract and the attorney fee was $22,960. That's not even including the meeting you had on January 11th. That special meeting. Also, an important issue is that neither the homeowner or their attorney have yet received any abstract on this report from the village that the village ordered. We have foiled the information and we haven't received anything yet. So much false information. People are stating false information, including the trustees, and much more information to be gathered, and not to mention the unknown cost. Why, Dave? Why? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Can
Jean
we-
Halligan?
Hi, this is Jean Halligan, 7598 2nd Street. I also want to make comment about the meeting on, was it January 11th? A week ago, the 11th. Damian Weidman got up during the meeting and said that my nephew, Leo Halligan, had been hit by a car. I thought to myself, gosh, if my nephew had been hit by a car, I'm certain that I would have heard about it. So I contacted Leo. And what he said was he was not hit by a car. So I want it for the record so that everybody in the village and the village trustees understand that my nephew was not hit by a car, but a distracted driver drove up over a curb. And I want to pause and ask Dave or someone on the board a quick question. I know that there's a good curb between 1st Street and 4th Street. And you cross the road and you get over between 4th Street and 8th Street. It's on the north side of the street. my memory says there's not a curb between 4 and 8. Am I correct?
Yes,
Okay, so the distracted driver ran up over the curb between 1st and 4th, or the drunk driver, or whatever the guy's problem was. So he must have been headed towards the county park and drove up over the curb. The tires were damaged. It slit the tire hitting the curb like that, and the car was issued a ticket. But this village needs to understand you have a very dangerous situation in that area. It wouldn't take much for someone to jump the curb. It wouldn't take much between 4th and 8th Street for some little kid that maybe lets go of their parent's hand, walks into the street and a car's going by. We have a very, very dangerous problem that has been reported now in 2 village meetings, the 11th, but the story wasn't quite straight, and here on the 17th. The worst thing that could happen to the economics and to our community is that someone gets killed by these drivers driving too fast. And we need to do something about it yesterday. I live in Oswego in the winter, as many of you know, and we have seasonal speed bumps in high traffic areas so that they don't disturb the snow plows. We need seasonal speed bumps on Wickham Boulevard. We also need a full stop sign. And I'm not married to this particular idea, but a speed bump at 6th, a stop sign at 4th, and a speed bump at 2nd, or maybe a speed bump every stupid block. I won't swear in the village board meeting, but every block there should be a speed bump. Despite all of the polarization that I believe is caused by the leadership of the village in many respects, no, I hope this community can agree. We don't want anyone to get killed on Wickham Boulevard because of the design of that sidewalk. And we need to do something about it. Yesterday, I don't know what it takes for the village to decide to put a stop sign. All you have to do is pound the sign into the sand. It doesn't really cost very much either. But we need to do something. Speed bumps you'd have to budget for. But in the meantime, maybe we need a stop sign at 6, 4, and 2, something to curb the speed. We also need guardrails so that the car will hit a guardrail. And if they jump the curb, that they don't kill some little kid walking through there. A death in the community. Go home tonight when you're up at 4 in the morning or 2 in the morning or before you go to bed. And Dave, imagine yourself having to make the announcement on the e-blast that a kid was killed on Wickham, or an old lady, or anybody in the community, or any visitor, and you have to make that announcement. Put your hand over your heart and think about what that's going to feel like. And please take action, all of you, Bill, Kathy Madison, Bud, and Lori. Do something about it before somebody gets hit. And that also has nothing to do with the right of way, that's going to save people from getting hit because he got hit when that wasn't between 1st and 4th. That was between 4th and 8th. That was between 1st and 4th. And please, people in the village, get your stories straight. Leo was not hit.
thank you.
My second point is, I do understand what Kathy's saying. It was foiled. You've exceeded the budget. I don't understand, and maybe it's a question for the village attorney more so than the mayor, Dave, but when you exceed a budget, what are the legalities of that? How can you be allowed to do that? And where does the money come from? Because you said general fund, and I have a copy of the November village budget, general fund, detail of expenditures, revenues. I see the accounts for special reserves, but I don't understand how, when you do budgeting for the year, and even for the dune fences that were thrown away by an accident, we had to buy them again, all that's budgeted for. So when you dip into the general fund, can you explain in words that we can all understand, we're not all accountants, where that money comes from? And is it going to raise our taxes in 2024? 5.
It will not raise taxes.
So when I look at this budget, which is 60 pages long, what line item does this money come out of? That's where we're talking about $23,000 plus the
That-
cost
that
of the
will-
attorney that
will-
day, plus
come
the
on.
court costs. Where does the money come from?
That will eventually come out.
From where? What line item? What budget? What reserves? What?
There is unallocated fund balance that could be used. The board will have to make that decision once we know the total expenses.
And then if there's an you've already exceeded the $15,000. So would it be proper financial legal procedure for a board that you've got to allocate more to move forward? You didn't allocate more than 15,000. And when you say unallocated fund balance, what if there's not enough money in that unallocated fund balance? And where do you find that on this 60-page snapshot of the village finances? Maybe not what page is it on, but what section is that on? What section is it under?
If you want to call the village hall tomorrow, Tracy and I can talk you through that. There was no budget established. If you read the resolution, there was no budget established. We were told that the attorney expense was expected to be no greater than $15,000. It has been. It has been in large part because of the confusion about ownership of that property. Anybody else on Zoom have public comment?
But one last question, and I just want to establish for people that didn't go on the 11th, we don't know who owns the property, that all of this work's been done. We spent $23,000 and we don't know who owns the right of way. Am I correct?
No, you're incorrect.
Who owns the right of way then?
The railroad company. All right, we will close public comment. Thank you very much.
Dave, are you gonna correct the inaccuracies from Kathy Beretta?
No,
But they're not true.
I understand that, and some of the members of the board understand. It'll all come out in the wash. We're not gonna get in for a tit for tat. That's why we hired attorneys. That's why we're following the legal process.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to do one last speak of public comment, just to make sure, like, there was another hand up, oh, away.
That's not-
Okay, sorry.
Okay. We're on to new business. This is the second version of the vehicle and traffic law that's included here around parking. This includes the changes that Gary Gray suggested we make from, I think, the November meeting. I'm asking all of you to read through it, give me any changes you'd like to see by February 1st, so I can bring a final version to the next board meeting for us to begin that process.
Just a couple of comments on it. I did go through it. And of course, I'm concerned with Centel Street being closed for parking. And that would be one of the things. But with the way it's laid out in spots, it's hard to tell which streets it is. And it's specifically on the Centel Street, and I wasn't sure if I was reading it right. Am I right that it's all of Centel that would be closed to parking except for right around the Franklin House?
Yes.
That's why we want you to go through it.
Okay,
It is poorly formatted, and honestly, I think the whole thing has to be retyped. There's formatting in here that I can't find a way to override. Maybe we have a word person around it that a lot better than me, but it does magic things when I try to line stuff up.
I get this.
I left track changes on, so you can see all the changes that were made from what is currently our code.
And I appreciated that. The draft on it too makes it hard to read everything. So if the draft wording could be put someplace else on here, or just like draft for discussion someplace at the top,
I can send you the file and you can do what you want.
that'd be great. Maybe I can figure it out someday. My spare time is. But there were a couple of other places that I was pretty concerned about it.
Gary's reviewing it yet again. So
Is he coming back to give us any presentation on this to understand why he feels strongly about these, or is this just the proposed changes and that's it?
he was here before and went through his reasoning for the changes. There's no new changes in it. He's just commenting on understanding and whether it's clear or not.
I haven't missed a meeting. I don't remember. Why?
Yeah, I don't remember that when he was here to go through this.
He talked us through all the changes. We can.
When was
ask him to
this?
Come back.
Not at the,
When was
I
this?
don't
'Cause
think it was
wasn't-
at a
Yeah,
board meeting.
It was sometime early in the fall.
I can tell you.
You missed it in the dirty laundry.
Good job, Matt.
Nobody makes it. I'll buy you dinner.
I'll buy you a couple things.
Okay.
All I,
If we need him to come, he can either be online or, maybe he'll come back. He does periodically come back.
I remember him being in a meeting, but I don't remember him going through that. This is where everyone that he was gonna make, what the rationale was for it. I mean, some,
November. It looks like to be.
All right, I'll ask him to participate.
this was a picture that was taken at the Bass Fishing in Pro-Am in May of 21.
In September.
And I just want to give you an example of what the parking situation can be down there. And I decided to blow that one up, and I've got pictures of all of them. We cannot have special things and not have a place for people to park. And that's my concern when we close off all the parking. So and I've got pictures of almost every weekend all summer last year of where cars were parked. I should have gone up and taken them in the back because there got to the point at times when there wasn't enough room up in the back for everybody to park. So the parking is a real problem down there, whether we like to think about it or not.
We'll also have a letter from the two owners on how they're resolving their parking with some.
That would be really good.
All right, so if everybody could get me their comments by the 1st of February, I will ask Gary to attend the next board meeting so we can talk about it.
One other thing is when the two owners come up with this parking, once we make this ruling of parking, we have a situation on Greg Street where we agreed to have everything one way and have it opened, but we didn't. And at that point, we were gonna all the ice fishermen were gonna park at the yacht club and everybody was happy. Well, we made that ruling, then all of a sudden, insurance didn't want the parking to happen there. How do we insure against that for the future? Because once you make these rules, it's a lot harder to change the rules than it is to change an insurance policy.
I think the yacht club will enter into a permanent agreement with us. They're exploring their insurance option. I
Okay,
don't think it's gonna matter this winter, but it is something that we're actively discussing with the yacht club.
okay.
But you're actively discussing it, but is this gonna affect parking? Because that could change things going forward. If there's gonna allow parking down there, that's one thing, but if they're not, Greg Street, the loop itself is over almost 21 feet wide, one of the widest roads, but yet we've limited parking from the inside.
Because when they parked there, we couldn't get a fire truck.
That's, I don't believe that because
Talk to the
it's
fire
I have a
department.
big
one of
issue.
Talk to
the,
the fire department.
okay, let me ask you this. What is the width of Third Street?
I have no idea.
17 feet. But we don't restrict the parking there.
Actually, we do.
According to this draft, you will. What I'm saying on a
We
regular,
do.
I'm talking about in the summertime,
We do,
really?
yes.
Yes.
So I don't see cars parked up and down the numbered streets all summer long.
Parking is allowed on one side of each numbered street, all summer long.
Exactly, that are 17 feet wide. So we don't have a problem getting an emergency vehicle down there when it's half as wide
Because they park off the road.
as they could on the loop.
Put that in writing to me.
I plan to.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, when we get to it.
All right, I have two proposals to survey Cook Street. One from Green. And one from Castle.
Well, the one on, from Green was, half the price. But if we're gonna do this, I believe that we should be surveying not only Cook Street, but the other two. So I'd be happy to make a motion to approve the Cook Street survey proposal from Cook, or from Green, from Green. And I move that we approve the Cook Street survey proposal from Green, and that we provide an RFQ or advertise for surveyor for both the pump station on 14 and Centel Street, to see how much we own, to see if we can have parking along those areas.
In an effort to save the village some money, not much, but I'm working with Bruce Carey to get him to put flags, because his pins are there. So on Centel Street, and I mentioned this last meeting, we'll get flags on those pins.
Last year, he was horrible about it though, and I know that.
He wasn't horrible to me about
Okay, well,
it. I've already talked to him, he's agreed to do it. He's really just waiting for the weather to clear up a little bit so that his people can get out there and find them and put the flags there. And if that doesn't work, then we'll hire somebody to survey that as well.
well, I'd like to see us do the pump station minimally.
All right, I'll accept that, whatever. As I told you this afternoon, we have a survey for that, we just have to dig it out and do the measurement ourselves, but if you'd rather have a surveyor do it, we can spend that money.
I'll withdraw the motion. I move that we approve the Cook Street survey
By
To
Greenland
by
surveying,
Greenland surveying.
up to $1,100, we think.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. I don't have the green one. Oh, there it is.
All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? All right, the last bit of new business is the swing set quotes. Which, Laura, you gotta take us through, since I'm not able to know.
no, I've got it in a second.
So, can you get them the same for whatever they're supposed to be?
Yeah, maybe if you give me a second.
Yeah, but you probably should have given.
Look,
time to discuss it,
we,
because if you want them to, because they'll have to report it.
no. The difference between these two, if you look at the two, Game Time is all inclusive in their pricing. They have given you everything with the shackles and the bolts, which you see are separate, the belt seat assemblies. They're all included, because I called Sarah before I came.
Right. The comments say installation not.
Well, the installation itself is not included, but the equipment to do it comes prepared.
All right, so what about Jeffrey Associates?
So Jeffrey Associates theirs are all separate. So you've got a bolt cap, you've got swing hangers, which are $1,000. Our swing hangers are probably okay. But if not, they'll send out the swing hangers that would go with the swings. I don't have that in writing because I didn't realize it until I sat down and started doing the math on it.
I think it would be really good if we had these matched in writing. Even if there's more items, but
Yeah, there are gonna be
Same.
more
that's
because
fine.
the slide is gonna be, they're trying to get a slide to match it. Where the one is cracked, or to find out if somebody can repair it. Because we only need the slide to last another 1.5 to 2 years. But to make the swings, right now, we're without almost all the swings. So if you looked at the zero G chair, theirs is 1463, but game time is 749. But 749 includes the stuff to hang it onto the swing set, like it, the one we have.
The game time, it listed as 2 3/8. I think it's bigger than that. I don't know. And the other one lists 3.5 inch.
Yeah, I don't think we can do this
Okay.
because it's so different, unfortunately.
Okay, so you want me to have,
We need like for
And
like.
there's still time. That's what.
well, except it says it's 14 weeks out. So
I don't know, this is really different.
14 to 16 weeks.
Let's see if we can get like quotes,
Alrighty,
even if it's, gotta be from different people or whatever.
okay. Thank you.
Any other new business? We will move on to paying the bills then.
1 through 48, 69,000, 312 general fund, 51,000, water, 7,294.99, and wastewater, 10,669.
I move we pay the bills.
I second.
All in favor?
I'd just like to make a comment.
Yes.
There were no legal bills in this time, other than that monthly cost.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We have a series of budget transfers. First one is to move out of the fund balance in the general fund, $100,000 to the highway capital reserve fund for equipment.
What equipment do we need?
We ordered a truck back in May that will show up sometime next year.
But I thought that was already budgeted for.
No, we have to budget for it in the next year's budget. This just is setting money aside in the reserve fund that we can use to help pay for it. The state requires us not to have too much money
In the fund
in the
balance.
fund balance. And we have a bunch right now, so we're just trying to move some out. So does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Okay. The next one is moving $100,000 out of the fund balance into the fire equipment capital reserve fund for fire equipment.
When you say equipment, is this to help with, I know they're gonna need a new boat, they're gonna need, there are some other things, is that enough for them? That
No,
would,
it's nowhere near enough, but it's a start. And there's already some money in there.
okay. What is in there?
It's on the last budget report, I don't remember.
Yeah, I should look, I'm sorry. I move that we move 100,000 to the fire equipment capital reserve from the fund balance.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next one is moving $50,000 from the fund balance to the building capital improvements reserve fund for municipal building improvements.
And what are we trying to do there?
Well, nothing specific, have money available to repair the water department, the highway barn, the wastewater plant, the village hall,
Okay, yeah,
community center, the fire department, the information center.
That's not enough.
There is already money in there, so this is just adding to
Yeah,
it.
I move that we move $50,000 to the building improvement capital reserve for municipal buildings.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I,
The next one is moving $200,000 out of the fund balance into street improvements capital reserve fund. This is what I mentioned earlier in the meeting about setting money aside for South Municipal parking lot. I got that figure from the Barton and La Judas playground estimate.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion, we do so.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Last one, I'll let Tracy talk.
what is AIM?
Pardon?
What is AIM?
The state just, they recoded, one of where we get that revenue from. So, in the last budget year, we put it under the budget that we're gonna receive it under that. Expense number, and it's just needs to be changed. It's just moving it from one to another.
AIM is a state program that allocates money to all municipalities based on some formula that hasn't been updated in years.
And that,
And the amount hasn't changed in years. And this is something Nikon fights to have increased every year and goes nowhere, and it's going nowhere again this year.
So it didn't increase, it stayed the same.
Yeah,
Just
all
call
we're
it-
doing is moving from one account to the other where that revenue is gonna
So
come.
moved.
Wait, what is the money though?
The money is state aid essentially.
yeah, state aid.
Okay, and we're moving it to,
I'm not
State
moving
revenue.
it anywhere. I'm just,
Recoding it on
yeah,
for the accounts.
okay,
it doesn't trigger when I send my annual report.
I moved it. There's a second.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All those in favor?
I,
Any other business before we move to executive session? Can I get a motion to move to executive session, please?
so moved.
I'll second.